Welcome to another episode of the Miami Real Estate Show. Today, I have the pleasure to interview one of the powerhouse brokers in Miami, Eloy Carmenate with Douglas Elliman, South Florida. One of the most successful real estate agents in town. Just to give you an idea, as of today, he has over $215 million in listings. You hear that right. Over $215 million in listings. The interview, it's full of insights and stories about how he got started in the business, from humble beginnings in Miami to one of the top real estate agents in South Florida. The interview was done in one of the most prestigious addresses in Miami, in Pine Tree Drive, in a house listed right now for $34 million. He also has some other listings. One of the penthouses he has, it's listed at over $55 million. The insights you're about to listen to and the stories are just amazing. So I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. Without further ado, I leave you with Eloy Carmenate, top producer with Douglas Elliman, South Florida.
This episode of the Miami Real Estate Show is brought to you by Perlin Title and Escrow Services Corp., an integrated solution for all your real estate closing needs. Supported by a skilled team of professionals in state-of-the-art technology, Perlin Title will satisfy your most demanding deadlines and meet your loftiest expectations. Perlin Title and Escrow Services, delivering above and beyond service with every commercial and residential real estate closing in Florida. This week's featured property is an architecturally distinct home located at 4555 Pine Tree Drive in one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in Miami Beach. Conceived as a self-contained, multi-layered landscape of experiences, which takes advantage of both Miami's tropical climate as well as the ocean and Miami Beach views. The property features over 18,900 square feet of open living areas, 6 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, stunning views of the Atlantic Ocean from the master bedroom, a water slide concealed by an elegant glass staircase, a pool with open views, and a boat dock that will be built to suit the buyer's preferences. For more information, contact top producer Eloy Carmenate at 305-673-4808.
Welcome to another episode of the Miami Real Estate Show. Today I have the pleasure to interview Eloy Carmenate with Douglas Elliman. Eloy, thank you very much for having me in this amazing house today. You have in listings more than 250 million. You usually don't carry more than 20, 25 listings at a time. You specialize
even less now.
Even less now. You specialize in high-end properties. Tell me about this amazing property. I was talking to my crew and we said, we film in a lot of beautiful properties, but this is one of a kind. Can you explain to me where we are?
Okay, we're located right now, we are on 45th and Pine Tree Drive. And Pine Tree Drive, as you know, it's always been a prolific street. It's always been, especially even when Miami's Beach origin began, it's been viewed as the luxury street. The Astors lived here, the Vanderbilts lived here.
Right.
So it has a lot of history to it. It's in the center of Miami Beach, which is a great location, but it's also in a very unique positioning because it's right on the river, the Indian Creek, and it's open to the ocean.
Not only that, you can see here the two main buildings from Miami Beach, Eden Rock and Fontainebleau.
Yeah,
right?
And what's really great is to see iconic, iconic architecture mixed with the tropical environment that's been created here, and the fact that the developer here assembled this dream team, and the trend of the Starchitect has come to Miami. It's in all the condominiums. You're seeing them here in Miami, and it's a trickle-down effect from New York. But now you're starting to see them in the homes, which is actually very interesting to see. And one of the greatest aspects of this house is it's a South African architect named Seyodo. They're a top 100 architecture firm in the world, one of them. And fast working their way up. They've done beautiful homes in LA, South Africa, London. I mean, they're an international firm. They do beautiful work.
So what's the listing price of the property?
The listing price of this house is only $34 million.
Only $34 million.
For $34 million, you can have all this.
That's
And this is a 16,000 square foot house.
Okay.
Interior under air conditioning. And 18,000 with all the outdoor pavilions. So indoor, outdoor space combined is 18,000 square feet.
And the lot square footage?
This lot is 1 acre. It has 150 feet on the river, which actually allows for large mega yachts, because you can see they were parked just a few weeks ago at the International Boat Show.
Right.
They're right in front of the Fontainebleau.
So
Which
this is one
just
of,
a stone's throw.
right. This is one of the listings. You have another one in Faena. How much is that going for?
I have a really fabulous penthouse at Faena. It's $55 million.
$55 million.
It encompasses the top floor of the building. It has 360-degree views, and it has a wonderful lap pool on the top floor, overlooking the ocean downtown in Miami.
Very nice. Very nice. So now you are one of the biggest real estate agents in South Florida. What's your background? How do you get to be such a top producer? Where do you come from?
Well, I come from, el barrio. I'm a Cuban guy.
El barrio, okay.
Yeah, I come from, the Cubans call it La Sabuesera,
Southwest Miami, yeah, right, yeah, 30 minutes from here.
Yeah. From a very Cuban exile family.
Okay.
So, we were very poor growing up. And, I just...
Interesting.
I remember one day, it was in 1988, 87, looking at ads and seeing all the modeling ads, Versace, this and that, and the backdrop was Ocean Drive.
Right.
With the Art Deco architecture. And architecture was always something that held my interest even as a young kid. I had wanted to be an architect in my scope of my world at the time, but for financial reasons, my parents weren't able to provide that education for me, which is fine. Everything is for a reason. Now I'm a real estate broker who makes more than any architect, who loves architecture, and I get to work with architects all the time.
Right.
I've had the honor of working with a lot of the Pritzker Award-winning architects. So, found South Beach. Okay. And
how long ago? How long did you get in the business?
I moved to South Beach in 1988.
Okay.
And I unofficially started a real estate career without even knowing that I was in real estate in 1989, because I rented an Art Deco apartment. And it had to be Art Deco. And one of my
right here in South Beach?
Right here on 15th and Penn.
Okay.
They've converted my fourplex into one house now.
Okay.
Right off of Lincoln Road.
Okay.
But I moved there, and I was so happy with it that I picked up the phone and I called all my friends. And I moved in over 20 people in 2 months into these rental units from a management company. And the management company approached me and said, would you like to do this? Would you like a job leasing apartments? I said, what do you mean? And he said, yeah, you can show apartments and we'll pay you. And when you rent, I was like, so let me get this straight. I get to show apartments to my friends. Okay. You're going to pay me. I was like, sold. I'm in. Sold. Okay. And that's where it sort of began. And I didn't even own a car. I started showing apartments on a bicycle.
So without a car.
Yeah. Then I moved into, I was very involved in the club scene. We were all young ones.
Right.
And I was in my 20s, and I started picking up a lot of business in the restaurants and the clubs. Okay. Just because I was friends with the models. Okay. So I would take a ring of keys with me, and I'd show apartments every night, anywhere from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning.
Completely different from the typical real estate agent, right?
I don't even know how it happened.
Midnight.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, networking and entertaining estate is one of the central points
of your business today.
Of my business, our platform. Right. Everything we're built on is on relationships. Okay. Obviously, knowledge and professionalism goes a far way, but you do have to. There is a personal aspect to real estate that I don't think will ever be computerized or digitized, because it's just not going to happen.
Especially at this level.
At the end of the day, you can't take away the human aspect in real estate, because somebody can watch a video, but you can stop a video. Right. But and a video isn't going to be intuitive to a person's body language. Right. And you can tell right away what will hold their interest, what doesn't hold their interest, what to focus on, that kind of stuff. But
did you have a mentor? Started in this business?
Yes, I did. After I started renting apartments, I bounced around a lot. Okay. Honestly, I got fired a lot because I worked at night. I was nocturnal, so I was never in the office. But I did bring in the checks, and we were 100% full. But
good, all right.
They didn't love my way.
Your approach.
My approach of doing business. So, you know, my first son was born, so I crossed the bridge.
Okay.
Hung up my party boy hat, and started working downtown in what's now the Upper East Side of Miami.
Okay.
And
you had a mentor there?
No, not yet. I met a person. I was their leasing agent, and then a large French firm came in and took over. And with it came a gentleman who worked for the Aztec Group, and he sort of discovered me, figured that I had some raw talent, but I was very far from being a professional at that point. And these French guys, along with this American gentleman, his name is Ron Musi. We'll give him a shout out.
Okay. Right.
He knows. He's still a big guy. He's with Canyon Capital. But anyway.
What do you learn from this person?
He taught me one thing that nobody was ever taught, because, you know, you can prove anything with numbers. Numbers are everything. And he taught me finance. And he taught me site acquisition. And, you know, I didn't know how to depreciate a hotel building. He taught me everything. And what happens is, if you do have, you know, to be a salesperson, you obviously have to be outgoing. You want to go out and speak to the clients and to the public. But if what you're saying is not meaningful, truthful, and if you can't prove it, especially dealing with the hedge fund guys that we're dealing with now from New York or London or wherever they are, you know, at the end of the day, I got the listing at Faena, and my competition was fantastic.
Of course.
These guys are like an assemblage of the greatest talent, I think, in Miami. I think that what differentiated me in this particular aspect was that I did have a financial background, that I gave them the price that I felt was the market price, not just based on hype or what I felt it was or what the neighbor felt it was. I do have my personal opinion, and then there's the facts. Right. And trends.
You touch on a very important point. Some people in real estate believe that the success comes from relationships. I hardly disagree on that, because even if you come from a rich family, which by the way is not your case, but even if you come from a rich family, that rich family and their friends also know many other real estate agents, all right, that are extremely professionals. So that might open the door for you, as you said, but it's having that knowledge, in your case, financial background, to deal with the hedge fund managers that allow you to position yourself as that expert.
Yeah, because, you know, you can't sell anybody on anything. Right. You can just present them with the facts.
Very good. You can't sell anybody on anything. You just can't present the fact.
I don't sell property. I represent property.
There you go. There you go.
I represent this property, and I represent the developer in this case, and the seller. But, you know, you have to do it in a way that's thoughtful and that is intelligent. And to bring the intelligent factor into real estate is something that hasn't been, I feel, is lacking in our market. And there are smart people out there, and they're all good ones, and if you look at them, they really do know their stuff. Not only do they know the actual property itself, they also know the comparables, the facts, the trends. I've been through 4 cycles. I can tell you exactly what happened in every cycle and what happened to real estate, how far it went down, what went up during the cycle. And based on those numbers, I was able to formulate a number and attach a value to the outdoor space. By just simply adding up, you know, the highest sale at that same year of the best unit in the building, or the best residence, or the best house for that matter, and then getting the outdoor space and attaching a value to that. Because what I did is, the penthouse sold, let's say, in 2009, and it did, and I sold it, thank God. Broke the 20 million barrier at the time. It was not easy in the middle of the recession.
However, how much did you sell that for?
We sold it at the time for 23 million.
23 million at the recession.
And the highest price ever sold in Miami at that point was 14. Ever. House and condo included.
Now, you have that person, that financial background, but many other agents also, very successful agents, have that financial background. Any other attributes that contributes to your extreme high success in real estate?
Well, I don't know. I think that
any habits?
The fact that well, your morning rituals obviously are very important. You know, when you start working as a real estate agent, you're never not working. The only time you're not working is when you're sleeping. That's it. You
Sometimes
wake up,
you're dreaming.
You know, you could be having dinner. You will, you know, you have to place yourself in key places to be exposed to certain people.
Okay, so exposure is critical.
Sure,
right.
sure. I think exposure is critical, but obviously creating relationships, not just with the clients themselves, but their sphere of influence is a very big deal.
How do you do that? You travel, you take them to lunch?
I do. I travel. Okay. I travel to key places, and it's extremely targeted.
To key places and extremely targeted.
Yeah.
All right.
I know where my client is. You know, it's interesting. They all run together. I call them the herd. Okay. They all run together. And they're all in different places throughout the world at different times.
Okay.
And it's just very interesting to see that nothing much has changed since the turn of the century and the Gilded Age, where the wealthy would go to Newport.
Right.
And then they'd summer in, or winter in Europe.
Right.
And it would be Italy or Venice, wherever they were at. It's just very interesting to note that pattern still exists.
All right.
I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't want to tell you my secret. But let's just say I know where to be and where the right season is and where to place myself.
Right.
And since we've already established relationships with, if it's not them but their friends, then you're at the right place at the right time. Putting yourself at the right place at the right time and actually being knowledgeable and prepared really go a very long way.
So the right time, the right place, being prepared and having the right knowledge.
Sure.
Without so those four
they'll write you off as an idiot in 5 minutes. And when they have a question, you better answer.
Exactly.
You better have an
answer.
And if you don't have an answer, you never say, I don't know.
So what do you do to prepare yourself?
I know who's where.
But in terms of the knowledge,
I know exactly who's where. And, I do have friends who have homes, and I also have connectors, in hotels.
Connectors. We talk about connectors.
GMs.
Exactly.
I mean, it could be anybody. It could be the valet.
Yeah.
You never discount.
Right.
Who's
anybody.
there.
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
Nobody. And, being from my background, a humble background, I feel very at home with them. In fact, I love being with them. Kind of hang out. So it's important to not only connect with the client, but to connect with everybody. And I think in Miami especially, the brokerage community is so powerful and so strong. And you've interviewed so many great brokers and owners and managers. To have a good relationship and a good reputation with them, and to be able to deal in a handshake deal, I don't need to put anything in writing. I always pay. And I always participate. And I don't mess with brokers. Because if you mess with brokers, half of your success is out the door.
Very important. If you mess with the brokers, with the community, half of your success is out the door.
You want to be popular not only with the building, let's say a building or the staff or the builder here or the workers here or whatever, or the neighborhood, whether it's the long guy next door. Because my client lives next door and I sold him a penthouse ages ago. You never know who the neighbor is. And you never know who's where and how to get good information and who's in town and who's not. You only know that by knowing the people that work there and the people at the front desk.
Now, I'm sure through the years you had many, many failures in the past. I mean, to get to the top, you need to have some failures, and that's what you learn from. Anything in particular, any particular failure that you remember that stands out and what you learned from that?
The one that I learned the most from was that I actually said I don't know to somebody. Instead of saying, let me get an answer for you.
So never say, I don't know, let me get an answer for you instead.
That's when they write you off. And you're finished. Because you only have one chance to make a first impression. And I blew it.
What about a success story? This is a success story. The Faena penthouse, $55 million, is a success story. Any other success story?
I think that the Satai penthouse.
Satai, okay, tell me a little.
Penthouse was a big success story for me because it was really in the center of the storm.
Well, the Satai,
when the banking collapsed. It was in the center of all that, and I had, $27 million listing.
That was at the time.
At the time. Which now, in retrospect, is a bargain. It is, and that was only less than 10 years ago. Because we're in 2016, that was in 2010. But to be in the center of that storm and to be able to meet with a buyer, with his broker, and have them come in, and it was interesting. We had been planning this viewing a while in anticipation, the broker and I, who is also a friend. So that the fact that we worked well together, and he, if you have a good relationship with a broker, you want to sell their stuff. Like, if I like the broker and I know they're smart and it's going to be a deal that can happen because they're going to negotiate, but they're going to do it in a fair manner that we're going to all benefit from, those are my favorite people to work with. And having the ability to be able to pick up the phone and reach out and say, who do you have, what do you have, who is he, you know, and to have all the background and come in and to be prepared. But coincidentally, that day, you know, we were going back to rituals. Every morning I wake up at 6:30.
Right,
I turn my blinds up half away, they're electric. You know, I lay in bed for another 15 minutes, quiet, it's my quiet meditation time to actually think about what I'm going to do in the day and where my priorities I think are going to be. Because there's always those few thoughts that jump to your head are usually the best ones. And those are the ones that you act on. Then you can turn on your coffee, have your coffee, you know, raise the blinds. That's when I start reading emails and I start prioritizing my emails and I flag.
Yeah, you told me that. That's very important. What do you do with the emails in the morning?
There's a little red flag and I put a red flag on them.
Okay.
And those are the ones that I don't answer them because it's too early in the morning and you have to really read them, absorb them before you come up with an answer. That's going to be the right answer, or at least, you know, it's too early in the morning to really think and to get going. And I don't like to do anything when I'm not 100% clear.
Okay.
Even if and you know, we all get emotional. It's an emotional business. Our entire business is based on emotion.
Right.
If I'm upset, or if I'm too happy, or if I've lost my temper, I table it. And if I need to sleep on it, and I wake up and I have an impulse reaction that's emotional, I table it. I will not make a move until I can clearly,
and I see so many agents fighting and
I don't fight.
Right, very important point. I know you also have an extremely effective team.
Yeah.
How many people do you have in your team?
Well, I have 2 teams.
Okay.
Luckily,
How important is that for you to have the team?
It's important. It's everything.
Let me ask you a question.
If they're your family, you're only as good as the rest of your organization.
Right.
And
Do you think you can become a real top producer without a team? I don't think so. What's your opinion?
I think that, you know, everybody has a different style and everybody has different attributes and strengths, and a lot of them are teams and some of them are individuals.
Right. But they have a group of people that
they
help
always have
them.
one or two. There's
That's what I'm
always
saying.
somebody,
Right.
whether your team is one person or 8 people,
Right.
they have a team. In my case, what I love about Douglas Elliman, and one of the reasons why I came to them, is because they have something called the hybrid broker. Hybrid broker allows you to represent a spectacular estate like this one, because this isn't a home, this is a state.
Right.
And then, you know, you have also the opportunity to represent developers.
Which you do, buildings,
yes. Yes. And, you know, I was, in my prior company, I represented a building called Glass, which is down the street, and it was a big success. We were able to sell that building out in 90 days, different times. You know, we doubled the records of all the condos that were on the inner band. You can't compare oceanfront to a landlocked property.
Right.
But what I did learn from that property, it was a testament to design and architecture and quality.
Right.
And people were willing to pay oceanfront
It's an
price.
amazing building, yeah.
It really is, and it's a landmark building, and it's probably the best building I've seen built.
How many units in that building?
Only 10.
Only 10, and you sold it in 90 days.
90 days.
Now you represent another building now, correct?
I represent the Terra Group again.
Right.
I really like what they're doing. They're leaving legacy properties, not just for themselves and for their family, but for the community, for the public. Everybody gets to enjoy, you know, significant architecture, and you know, the developer is dealing with a couple of Pritzker award-winning architects. And for those of you who don't know what a Pritzker award is, it's like the Oscars. Right. It's more than the Oscars. It's the Nobel Peace Prize.
And how do
for architecture.
How do you use your team, and how is your team involved? How the team helps you sell these properties?
We all have different attributes. Okay. One of the things that I noticed right away, and we were talking about earlier, is, you know, I'm very impressed by the millennials and that generation, and how serious they are and committed to making change. And it's just such an intelligent generation that is really doing.
An intense generation.
They're intense. Right. They're intense but laid back. I got to tell you, they're stylish, they're individual. I just can't say enough about it. Two of my children are millennials. But, and they're my favorite ones. Honestly. But with that said, you know, my staff consists of general real estate, 4 people. and it's not even my staff, because one of them is quickly turning into a partner, and we've partnered up on many deals, and he's probably going to be on this show soon.
Yeah, he will, definitely. we had him here before, so
he's
a few minutes ago, so
he's a smart
I'll
guy.
Definitely interview him, yeah, definitely, for the show.
He's a smart
Looking
guy.
forward to that interview.
And if I had an adjective to describe him, it would be effective.
Right.
He's very effective.
Right. What's the difference between the millennials and the people you see that have been in the business for 20, 25 years?
I think that although we paved the way in many ways in real estate and opened these gates to these phenomenal properties, but to be able to impart an education, let's say of design and architecture, which combined with my finance, I have. So, you know, most of my friends are architects or interior designers. And I can actually come into a place and tell you exactly how much they spent and what level of finish it is and where they wanted to take it in the scope of, at the end of the day, the bottom line. Because, you know, you can't compare a handmade Bentley to a Mercedes. Right. A Mercedes is a good car. Right. It's a fabulous car, but it's not a Bentley. Right. A Bentley is handmade. Right. Rolls Royce is handmade. Now, so that's the difference. You're in a situation in here that this is a handmade house. Right. This is craftsmanship at its best, which unfortunately in Miami we don't have a great reputation for craftsmanship. So be able to single out the properties that are interesting to you, those are the ones that I go after. And when I have my staff, and it's funny, you know, once you speak to these architects and these designers and these world-class people, you almost become a minion. Your eyes kind of start spinning and you get ruined for life. Right. What happens is then you can really come by, because before, you know, how do you distinguish good modern from bad modern? I couldn't tell before. Right. I can tell now. Right. I can walk outside and tell you whether the house has a soul, whether there was a thought process behind it, or whether it's just, you know, a pile of bricks with glass all over it. Right. That means nothing. Right. So, you know, that's a type of information that this very young team is into. They're actually intellectually challenged by these properties, and they
intellectually challenged by their properties.
Yeah, and it's not because, you know, when you have a building like this, it's not just the exterior architecture. It's a very layered approach. This whole house is the art of nothingness. With it, it's sort of like it has everything, but the palette is so monotone. It's layered very differently. It's that you create. The whole idea was to take the outside and bring it inside, and to have the outside be the spotlight. But it's complemented so well with such beautiful finishes and craftsmanship.
So what
and thought to light. Even the lighting in this house was very carefully planned. And a lot of people just throw light bulbs anywhere. Not this house. So this house is a mood.
And other than knowledge, which you talk about, you know, knowing exactly the architectural, the design, etc. Other than knowledge, what do you think real estate agents in today's market are struggling with?
I think that they're obviously struggling with the market. And I think that patience is going to be
patience
the
is
main
key. There you go.
Throughout this property, this time.
Right.
You, like I said, you know, you never want to do a fire sale. Right. There's always different ways of marketing the property and identifying where you are, not only in the market, but then identifying who your market is.
So being patient.
And you have to be patient. And when you don't have the traffic, the only thing that I could say is that you have to create traffic. And in this market right now, you have to create traffic.
How do you do that?
You travel and you start reaching out to brokers and key people. You have to be on the phone because
you have to create the traffic. You can wait for the traffic to come to your listings.
Sure, if I could sit here all day and do nothing and wait for somebody to come in off the for sale sign or to catch it on the web, or I could call you, or you, or anybody, and be on the phone, and we have a targeted list. And you know,
very good at having a targeted list and
you know,
creating the traffic.
Sure, because you know it's also who is the buyer for this house. And then there's only one way to find out. Well, who bought in the neighborhood? Right. Who are they? Right. Where are they from? Are they empty nesters? Right. Where are they in their period of life? And then once you've identified the person and or the region or area of where this person is then you have to go after them. And there's different avenues. And you know, thank God for social media.
Exactly.
And by the way, it isn't about Facebook, because you can Facebook all you want. But are you connecting?
Exactly.
Are you instant messaging that person? But it's not just Facebook. There's so many platforms.
It's just one of them, right? And
just one, but if you use them all.
I say in my coaching program, but most people I ask the question, are you using Facebook or is Facebook using you? Usually it's Facebook using them because they're not using it right.
Right, and if you, listen, it's pretty to post and it's great to keep in touch and all that kind of stuff, but you have to see who's out there.
Right.
And then if you read the paper enough and you know who your audience is, whether you found them on page 6 or whether it's on Mentions Global or wherever your outlet is. And let me tell you, it's covered in Curbed and Real Deal. All these things are my morning ritual. That's the list for the morning. I open up all those just to see what's going on, turn on the TV and then see what's going on nationally and globally. Markets, news. Sometimes there's just significant events that unfortunately impact us negatively. And there's stuff that, like the Pope, visiting Mexico is a positive thing for many, many people. Not that I'm preaching religion, but, and then you have, the stock market. Was it down 400? Was there an attack?
Not a good time to call the
client. Was there an
client.
attack in Paris?
Right.
All these things have contributing factors
to your real estate business.
To our success in our real estate business.
Very good point. Very good point.
And one of the things that I think everyone needs to really realize now is that it really is a global village, and that the world, before the U.S. was always immune. We had our coasts, and we couldn't be penetrated. Now,
not anymore.
Now we're open. It's a global world. I've traveled and I've landed in Frankfurt and I've bumped into 7 people I know. 7.
Right.
7 people that they're on their way traveling or connecting. It's interesting. And not only that, most of them are real estate people. To reach out.
So what advice would you give a new agent that is just getting their real estate license? What would you give them?
First of all, they need to really look at who's doing the business, identify them, and try to jump on their team.
Oh, very good point. Very, very good.
That's
the trend. If you see the trend, I don't know any top producer that is working by himself. And if you see the trend, it's almost impossible to go and compete for a listing when you're on your own, and then you're competing against a team.
It's really interesting because
very good point.
Our team for General Real Estate, Mick and I, we have a really cool little avant-garde bunch of guys. I mean, the youngest one is 23.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea.
Right.
And that guy, I'm going to give it away. He was at the Genius Bar at Apple. That's the guy you need. Right. That's the guy that you can mold. And that you can train.
Exactly.
And if they have the desire and they are interested and they're intelligent.
But that's a fabulous, fabulous advice. It's if you're getting started in the business, find the right people, the top producers,
find your
and
niche.
join.
What floats your boat?
Right.
Are they waterfront homes? Is it architecture? Is it
join
condominium buildings?
Right.
Is it development?
Exactly.
Is it?
Right.
It could be anything. Is it farmland? Is it commercial? Whatever it is, you have to find your passion.
Right.
And then when you find your passion, and you know what it is, because you don't usually find it finds you. You'll find yourself walking down the street and your eye always gravitates somewhere.
Exactly.
I say move with the full first impulse. Do it, then identify who's doing what and where.
How much do you delegate on a daily basis?
Everything.
Very good. Everything, right?
Everything.
You have one job.
I delegate stuff to myself.
Okay.
My phone calls.
Well, okay. Yeah. Your connection with your clients. You delegate everything.
At this point,
great answer. Great answer.
That I've been in real estate, just under 30 years. I'm the beginning and I'm the end.
Right. That everything in the middle, it's done by somebody else.
You know the guy with the red car, the finisher?
Right. There you go. You see, how much do you delegate? And the answer is everything. Very, very, very good point.
And everybody in the team has a strong attribute.
Right.
So you have to, say, you're in charge of marketing.
Right.
This is what I want you to do for this property.
Right.
I may not do that with someone else.
Right.
Everybody has a different strength and a different, I wouldn't give a condo or a penthouse listing to one person where I would give them the house.
Right.
And that's something that I'm very excited about. This is like the centerpiece of our migration into the home market. And we're representing a few houses now. But one of the things that I found myself doing is, especially after making a connection with an architect who became a close friend, and being enlightened by that person on design, finish, quality, architecture, true architecture, starting to read, poring over it, it almost became like a hobby. To see these kids start doing it now. And
incredible.
Being able to not only just talk the talk, but walk the walk, that we've almost been positioning ourselves as, we represent architecturally significant property. So I'm very, very proud to say, you know, I represent 87 Park for the Terra Group, and that's by Renzo Piano, who did the Pompidou in Paris when he was only 33.
Imagine,
you know, and you know, who's a genius. Herzog Demeron, we're doing works with them. They did the 1111 garage, and they reinvented the garage, in the entertainment garage.
Right.
Who knew?
Right.
Now they're popping up everywhere. You know, the Penthouse with Foster and Partners, another Pritzker Award-winning architect, and a wonderful property. The building is just spectacular.
So for those agents that have been in the business for 15, 20 years, what would be the advice for experienced agents? One piece of advice is to end up the conversation.
For experienced agents is try to keep yourself fresh. Try to keep yourself current. Don't let yourself get out of date. Don't not be hip. You really have to whether it's pop culture, music, design,
Great
architecture,
pop culture,
real
music,
estate,
right.
all of these are contributing factors as to know what the next trends is and what's floating.
Keep yourself current.
Yeah, you have to keep yourself current not only with news, but with everything else too, because it's important.
Right.
And the different generations and what they're contributing to this moment in time that we're in right now too. So it's an interesting time. There's a lot of stuff happening.
Eloy, it's been a pleasure interviewing you. I had the opportunity to speak to you. We were in a meeting. I'm sorry? At the panel, yes, exactly. And you were very helpful with all the information you provided. It's been great today. Thank you for having me in this amazing $30 million state.
34, 45, 55 Pine Tree.
45,
55, Pine Tree.com.
There. No, by the way, you're going to see it
on its own website.
And you're going to see it in the notes in the show. So thank you very much for having me here. I'm looking forward to the interview with your partner. Hopefully we can do it here in Miami Beach. And until next time,
we'll find you another fabulous
We will,
location.
definitely. Make it a very, very productive day. Take care, guys.